Hey, so sometimes when we're asked a question, we don't always know what to say right away, or we need some time to think. But we cannot always say, I need time to think, or I don't know. So let's talk about some ways that you can handle this situation and what you should do or say when you need some time to think. The first thing you can do is start your response with an opening statement to buy yourself a little bit of time to think. So here are some examples of statements that you can use. You can say, that's a great question, or that's a really great question. That's an interesting question, or that's an interesting question. I've never really thought about it. Or, funny you should ask. I was actually just thinking about this recently. Or I was just talking to someone about this recently. Or another one, out of curiosity, why do you ask? This last one is good with friends or someone who you're already close to, okay? Now, with these phrases, they are quite natural and they give you a few seconds to kind of think. So practice using them. However, do not overuse them, okay? So I've given you 4 or 5 phrases here. Do not use all 4 or 5 in your conversation because then it looks like you're avoiding your answer. So just be careful. These phrases are totally okay, totally natural and very useful, but just don't go crazy with them. For example, let's imagine you're in a job interview and you start every single answer with, that's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. Obviously, in this situation, it's not appropriate to overuse these. Or if you're taking an IELTS exam and every time the examiner asks a question, you say, that's interesting, that's interesting. That's not okay, and that's not what I'm saying to do. So just use these carefully, cautiously, sparingly, and just 1 or 2 in a conversation. The next thing you can do is to pause and rephrase the question and check that you understood it correctly. So for example, let's say that I ask you the question, what's your take on online learning? What's your take on online learning? And you don't fully understand the question. Maybe you think you understand it, but you need a minute to think and to process what you're gonna say. You can rephrase and repeat the question back to me, basically saying what you have understood. So my original question was, so what's your take on online learning? You can respond to me by saying, so you're asking if I think online learning is effective, right? Or so you're wondering what I think about online learning, right? Okay, so you are rephrasing the original question and also confirming that you've understood it. This will make you more confident once you actually give your answer because you are sure that you've understood the question correctly. The next thing you can do is to talk yourself through your own thought process out loud, okay? It sounds kind of crazy, but it's very effective. So here's how it works. Imagine you and I are having a conversation and we're talking about businesses using social media. And you ask me, you say, Julie, what do you think about businesses using social media to advertise their products or services? That's your question. And this whole concept of businesses using social media is actually quite new. So there's a chance that maybe I haven't thought about it or I haven't talked about it, right? So I want to talk myself through my thoughts out loud while answering your question. Okay, so here's how we do that. You know, at first, I used to think that social media was just for personal use and posting photos and keeping in touch with friends. But then I started to notice how many advertisements were actually on social media. And I realized that a lot of the products that I was actually searching for, I had seen them on social media. So now I feel like social media for business actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that's just an example answer. So if you notice, I used a few key phrases here to talk myself through this process. So I used to think, but then I realized, but then I heard, but then I saw, and now I feel like this. Okay, so I've actually talked myself through how I used to think and how my thought process changed and what I think now. And what I think now is actually the answer to your question. And another very effective approach is to look at the question from different perspectives. So, for example, imagine that the question is, Julie, what do you think of online learning for kids? What do you think of online learning for kids? So if I need some time to think, instead of just delaying, I can say, well, it really depends. And I automatically start thinking about the question or thinking about the topic from different perspectives. So the perspective of the kids, and maybe the perspective of teachers, maybe the perspective of parents. And if I don't know for sure, I can just guess, okay? So for example, I could say, it depends. I think that online learning is maybe convenient for parents or for teachers, but I don't think it's the best for kids because they end up spending so much time in front of a screen. They don't have as much social interaction as they need or as they would in a traditional classroom or with a group of kids. So I think, on one hand, even though it's convenient and it might be easier for adults, it's not necessarily the best approach for kids. So you can rewind and listen to my answer again if you need to, but basically I've presented you with an answer that gives you two different perspectives. And I'm kind of speaking a little slowly and thinking about one perspective and then thinking about the other. And this gives you a very well-rounded answer. This is also a great approach and a great tip for an English exam. So if you're taking, let's say, the IELTS exam, and on your speaking test, you have to give your opinion, it's always nice to think about the topic, think about the question from different perspectives, all right? So I challenge you a little bit. The next time that someone asks you a question, try to answer from different perspectives. So all of these approaches are actually very effective. I do use them in my personal and professional life, so I promise you that they do work. They might take a little bit of practice, but if you are trying to improve your English conversation skills, learning techniques like this will really, really help you. So make sure you grab your free ebook to learn lots more. It's called English Conversations Made Simple, and I've written this ebook specifically to help you with your English conversation skills. It's free. You can click the link below this lesson, enter your email, and I will send it over to you. So if you have any questions on this topic, please do leave them in the comments. Thanks so much for watching and learning with me today. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you did, let me know, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.